Skills-based hiring is revolutionizing the job market right now. Organizations are throwing out degree requirements and simply asking, can you do the job? So today we're going to talk about skills-based hiring and all you need to know to make sure that you are the best candidate in the job market right now. Hi, I'm Shelley Piedmont, a former recruiter turned career coach, and I want you to thrive and not just survive your job. Simply put, skills-based hiring involves seeing if you can do the skills for the job. It's not looking at your degree, it's not looking at your past job titles, it's not looking at your years of experience. They want to know, can you solve this production problem? Or can you deal with this customer service issue? That is the key. And the statistics around skills-based hiring are very encouraging. This approach is exploding right now. McKinsey & Company has a report, Workforce Transformation, and it found that between 2020 and 2024, the use of skills-based hiring increased by 20%, from 40% in 2020 to 60% in 2024. And other research has shown that when a company does skills-based hiring, 85% of them reported that they had people who are workforce ready on day one. So why are organizations going to skills-based hiring? Well, it's pretty simple. They're finding that the old ways of hiring, using a degree or using years of experience, is not a good indicator of success. They want to know not what you say you can do, but actually see what you can do. What is the driving force? Well, organizations have found that relying on degrees or relying on years of experience is not getting them people that are qualified to actually do the role. What they want to know is not that you can talk about doing something, but actually that they can see that you know what you're talking about and that you can get results. So what kind of skills might be assessed? Well, they can fall into many different categories. First could be technical skills, how you actually use software, maybe a CRM. You might be tested on those. Another thing could be your problem-solving abilities. They could give you a case. The company has experienced a 20% drop in customer satisfaction and how you would go about trying to figure out how that was happening and what to do, something like that. It could be your communication skills. They might want to know just how you put together presentations, how you might present in front of a group, how you write emails. It could be anything involved with how you communicate with others. You might also be assessed on industry knowledge. Do you know key metrics of the industry? Do you know regulations that are appropriate? Or even do you know best practices? The assessments that you do should be related to the type of role you are seeking. So for marketing, it could be to come up with a mini campaign. If you were in sales, they may want to see you doing a customer call. And maybe if it's a finance role, they're going to ask you to put together some information for analysis. Everything should be about proving that you know what to do and how to do it that will make you effective in the job. If you like this content, I always appreciate hitting that like button and go ahead and subscribe to my channel. It really helps. So let's now talk about the 3 different types of assessments that you might encounter as a job seeker. Now, the first one is generally an online assessment where either the company has bought a test or they've made one up, and you are then asked to complete the test online. And usually there's a time limit to it, and the assessment can be on many different areas. Your recruiter should be telling you that that's something that you can expect as part of the process. Though I have also seen that even before you get to a recruiter, sometimes organizations are making that part of the pre work as you're submitting applications. So just be aware of that. The second type of assessment is a live assessment. So, this is an assessment you will do with an interviewer. Often, this is to see your process of thinking, and it's usually 30 to 60 minutes. You might be given a problem that they want you to work through. This is a way that they can ask you questions. You can ask them questions. There might be some follow up as well, but it can come in all sorts of different things. It could be a case that they want you to go through, it could be an exercise. Sometimes it's a whiteboard exercise. Sometimes you'll have to share your screen to show your work. But this is a little bit more pressure because you have someone there who is watching you and following up on what you're doing so that they can see how you do it in real time. The third type of skill assessment is a take home exercise. So these should be anywhere from 2 to 3 hours, and it is take home so you have as much time as you need, so there's not that time pressure necessarily except for the due date. And this can be something like you are asked to put together a presentation, or you're there to analyze data or to make a prototype, whatever they need that's relevant for that job. And that way they can see how you deliver a finished product. Now, remember, all of these are legitimate ways to understand your skills and to assess you on it. That's not the problem. What becomes a problem is when they use these skills assessments for you to do actual work that someone paid by the company would normally do. That's exploitation. And if you are asked to do a project that is many hours and it actually could benefit the company with what you produce, that is a red flag. You need to ask more about how this information is going to be used. And if you don't feel comfortable that it is legitimately for figuring out if you can do the job, but is instead really meant for consulting work they get for free, be cautious. Like any part of the interview process, it's important to prepare. So here are some ways you can think about preparing for your skills assessment. Number 1, brush up on your core tools. So if you see a lot in the job description about Excel, well, make sure that you know how to do Excel at the level that is required of the job. That might mean brushing up on some of the features of Excel that you don't normally use. Or if it calls for using a CRM, make sure you know the basics, that you can talk about how a CRM functions and what the component parts of that is. Number 2. Another thing, especially if you're doing a live skill assessment, is you want to be able to talk through as you are explaining things how you are thinking, because that's the important part of those exercises. They want to just understand how you approach a problem. So you need to practice saying things like, first I would do this, and then I would do this, because they want to see the progression of your thoughts. So practice that so you're feeling comfortable, because it's not something that people normally do. Number 3. Another thing you want to do is get some information, if possible, about the assessments that are usual for your type of role. You might be able to find that information on Glassdoor, but you might need to ask people who know anything about that organization what you can expect. Any kind of intelligence in that area will be helpful for preparation. Number 4. Another thing you want to do is time yourself. Many of these assessments do have a time limit, and you don't want to go over without having it completed. So you want to go ahead and time yourself so that you know how long it's taking you to begin a project, the middle part, and to end it, so that as you're doing it, you have a good sense of where you are time-wise.
Number 5.
And lastly, you want to prepare questions ahead of time because you're going to ask things to clarify. As an example, what's the budget for this process? Who might be involved in it? You want to get those answers so that you make sure that you're following the right path to get to the result that they're looking for, and that you're not going down different paths that had you asked a clarifying question you wouldn't have wasted your time. The movement towards skills based hiring, I think, is a great thing for the job market. It brings more people who have the abilities to be able to be competitive for roles. That is always a good thing. The idea is to hire the best person for the job, the one that can be most successful. So, job seekers, show you have the skills and you will get the job.